Welcome back to the Leadership Lab podcast, everyone. We got an exciting guest here today. If you're interested in sports, if you're interested in the mindset of a champion, if you are interested in entrepreneurship and business mindset, we have the person to talk to today. He's an Olympic athlete representing Canada, reigning 4x100 champion in the Olympics. Amazing stuff. And entrepreneur, great guy all around, family man, Mr. Aaron Brown. Aaron, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hey, thanks for the intro. Thanks for having me.
Oh, great to have you. So appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I think today, a lot of kind of things I kind of want to cover with you. I've got tons of questions. I got tons of stuff that I'm intrigued in, and I know that a lot of the people out there would be too. But kind of wanted to start with your journey. Could you tell us a little bit about kind of how you got to where you are, how it all started for you?
Yeah, so I always played sports when I was younger. I had a lot of energy. My parents kind of threw me in sports just to burn that energy off. And I just kind of kept advancing and going to the next level. So I started young. And then when I got to middle school, my gym teachers, Mr. Mann and Mr. Carew, they were very nurturing of my talent. They saw something in me and they felt like I can go far. And they recommended I go to Birchmount Park, which is a school in Scarborough. I grew up in the Beaches area. So it was out of district for me, but they had a BEAT program, which is Birchmount's Exceptional Athletic Program. And, they really pushed me towards that. And going there opened me up to being around athletes who are also very competitive and competing at a high level. And it was there that I met Bill Stevens, who was my club coach for my first track club, which is Phoenix Athletics. And after I joined that team, I ran fast enough to get noticed by, first I went to the World Youth Championships, which were in Italy when I was 17. And I finished second in the world in the 100. And from then on, I got the eyes and attention of a lot of universities in the States. And ended up taking a scholarship to the University of Southern California, where I was there for 4.5 years, and I graduated from there with my undergrad degree. And from there, I was offered a contract with Nike and moved over to Florida, which is where I am now. And I've been there ever since December of 2014. I run professionally as a sprinter and travel the world and run different meets around the world. Different competitions and stuff like that. And of course, every 4 years we got the Olympics, but we also have like the World Championships and meets like the Diamond League circuit and all that stuff. So yeah, I've just been running full time ever since and kind of just following my path.
Love it. So where was it that when was it? What was that moment where you thought, because you just start doing something like that and then you're going into it, you're like, I am pretty good at this. But when was the moment where that really sunk in that I could do this as a career?
As a career, probably when I went to my first Olympics. My first Olympic team was 2012 in London, and I was 20 years old. And when I made my first senior team, it was a surreal experience because I was racing people that I watched on TV, and obviously everyone knows Usain Bolt, and I ran against him in the semifinals. And after I raced him, I'm like, okay, if I'm racing like the greatest sprinter of all time, then I'm probably at a level where I feel like I can be competitive as well. And if I continue with this, then I'm going to be able to do this full time and make a career out of this. And that's what really opened my eyes to it. And I took it really seriously that following year when I went back to college and kind of had that on my mind. Like, okay, after I'm done college, I'm going to go pro. And what does it take to get there? Those are the things that I started asking and finding people around me who were in the position that I want to be in ultimately. And just figure out what I have to do to make it to the next level and make this my career.
And I love that because, it's funny when we're going through that stage in anything, business, work, whatever it is that people are working at, there's always that stage where you start to do something, you start to see some progress, you start to see some momentum. But then was there that time where you felt that, like you said, all these people that I'm watching, that I've watched race, and then now I'm here, and you kind of said it was a surreal experience. Was there, do you kind of feel like a little bit of imposter syndrome for a little bit before you got there, or was it always kind of, I think I can compete?
I think it was a little bit of it. And it was more so just being a rookie and not really knowing what to expect. And so early on, I kind of felt like, oh, these guys have been at it for a long time. These are guys that you see on TV winning the medals and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if I can be competitive. And you kind of wonder, like, I know I'm fast, but like, am I like this level fast? But once you go out there and have a level of experience and some success, then you kind of just um, confirm with yourself, like, okay, this is where I belong. I should be here. I deserve to be here. And I'm amongst the fastest people in the world. And once you have that belief and self-confidence, it kind of just never really goes away. You know, there's moments where you have doubts, of course, when you're going through a slump and you're not racing well or you're not improving, but you always have that underlying confidence in yourself that like, no, I deserve to be here. And you have to reaffirm constantly with yourself. And that happens through training and all the dedicated sacrifices that I've been making over the years and really committing myself over the years in training. I'm saying I'm not putting this work for nothing. And I belong with these people because I've worked just as hard as them or if not harder. And I can be competitive and I've seen myself do it. And no matter what stage I'm at, I just believe that I can still go out there and do it.
I love that because that's just so interesting. I think everybody does that in whatever they're, you know, you and I were kind of talking earlier, kind of off camera, but on the phone, we were saying, hey, you know, everything's a sport, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, business is a sport.
Mm-hmm.
You get to actually do it physically as an athlete, but everybody has that piece that they're working in, and there needs to be that mentality that I think really overlaps into everything that you do.
Right.
So what were some of those biggest challenges in your journey? What were some of the biggest challenges where, you know, like you said, when things weren't going well, I'm not improving,
Mm-hmm.
or what are some things where you could really identify that, you know, these were some of the biggest hurdles that I had to overcome, and this is how I kind of overcame it.
Yeah. I think it goes hand in hand with business. And, you know, there's points in business where, you know, maybe the market turns or you're just not selling like you used to, your numbers aren't as what they were, or a competitor's doing better, or even a colleague is doing better and you start to doubt yourself. It's the same thing in sports, especially in track and field, because in my sport, everything is measured and it's very black and white. Like either you won the race or you ran a certain time or you didn't. And so there's no fooling yourself, like saying like flying under the radar or riding a teammate's coattails. Like you're out there by yourself, especially in the 100 and 200. And sometimes that can be tough because you see those numbers and it's not improving, and you can't trick yourself. Like you know that you're not doing what you feel like you should be doing. But you just kind of have to stay the course. And sometimes you have to be really humble and self-assess and self-analyze and constantly say like, okay, what am I not doing wrong? What areas can I improve upon? And then be humble enough to say like, I don't have it all figured out. Seek help. You know, I wouldn't be where I am without having people around me who were able to guide me in the right direction. And I don't know everything, right? So if I went at it like, oh, I know the best nutrition, I know the best workouts to do, I know it all myself, I know how to recover myself, then, you know, I would be doing myself a disservice. But when I have people around me and I say like, okay, I'm going to focus on being as fast as I can, but I want to put my coach in place who knows the proper technique. I want to put my agent in place who knows how to get me into certain meets that I need to go to be successful. I'm going to put my nutritionist in the right place so I can eat the right foods and fuel properly. You know, just having the right people in your corner that helps you be successful and overcome those low moments. So having a team around you is definitely key.
That's so huge. I think, you know, the associations and different things that people that you can plug into your life and to help you in different areas are so critical. When you were going through that stage, because you mentioned earlier that, you know, I wasn't, you know, when I started to realize, I started asking questions that, you know, could I do this,
Yeah.
you know, as a career? And who are some people that really grabbed a hold of you that you, or that you kind of really held on to, maybe they didn't even know that were, you know, really instrumental in your vision as a mentor or in that regards to get to where you were?
Yeah, well, it's evolved over the years, and obviously, you know, my coaches are the main ones because they're the ones that are with me day in and day out, trying to guide me to be the best athlete I can be. So they know what I'm capable of, and if I'm falling short of that, they'll remind me like, "Hey, like I know there's greatness in you. Like you can achieve this. You just have to believe in yourself and go out there and execute the way we've been training to." So that always helps to have somebody that has the foresight and knows you in and out. That they know what you're capable of because they've seen you do it in training. Versus, somebody who might have seen you just for that one race and be like, he's not that good, but they don't know what I've been through and been dealing with throughout the year, and they haven't been through with me the entire journey. And then it also helps to have like a neutral party who uh, is not really invested in your career in terms of like their career rides on you doing well, and that's like family, right? So whether it's my wife or my parents or now my kids, they love me regardless. They love me for who I am as a person and what I do when the spikes are off, and they're not just relying on me to, make the name for them as a coach or whatever or agent. They're not invested in my success that way. They want to see me do well because they love me for who I am. But at the end of the day, no matter what result I get, they support me. And so knowing that I have those people that are not going to be fickle and, leave when everything's not going well helps me to go out there and take chances. So like if you lose a race, and the next time you might be a little gun shy, like, I don't know, I'm doubting myself. I don't know if I'm going to run this fast. I don't want to embarrass myself and fall short again. It helps to have people in your corner that, regardless of the result, they're going to love you no matter what. And that empowers me to go out there and be like, okay, let's take a chance again. Like worst case scenario, my fans still support me. My family's still there. It's not the end of the world. It's just sport.
That's a huge mental block that I think a lot of people have, right?
Yeah.
Is one of the biggest things I think that I really had to work out, and I think everybody does, is we have like an approval addiction.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that when we put ourselves out there, when we're doing something different, that everybody has to, hope everybody likes it, or hope I don't like fall on my face or I fail.
Yeah.
And there's I kind of, to a person, you hear almost 100% of the time, people when they're kind of at the end stage of life, they say one of their biggest regrets is they wish they didn't care what people thought, because realize it didn't really matter. And I love that that you kind of leaned on that. When I was making changes in my career as well and shifted into business and leaving the corporate life, and it was a leap, and it was scary, and it was knowing that, hey, I could put myself out there, and if it happens, like I still have a family that loves me and cares for me, and there's people in my corner, and then I can, no matter what happens, things are going to be okay. Yeah, it's pretty reassuring to have that. Yeah,
yeah, and
that's awesome.
And you know that you have those people who are critics, and they're just waiting for you to fall on your face so they could say, "Hi, you see, you shouldn't have done it." But really, that just comes from their own insecurity, and sometimes people are jealous of the fact that you're able to take a chance because they're not courageous enough to do it on their own, and so you have to keep that in mind. And if you have that perspective, then you understand that they're not doing it from a place of, I just want to see you fail. They're doing it from a, wow, I can't believe you took that leap. What if it goes wrong? And because that's the voice that's in their head. So if you have a voice in your own mind that says, this is a leap, this is something new, this is a new challenge, but I'm excited for it versus I'm fearful, then you're in a space where you're able to take chances and you're able to go for something beyond what's normal. And that's how people do great things. At some point they were scared, they were doubting themselves, but they did it anyways. And that's how people go to achieve great things that not everybody's able to do.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And I think it's so important, because I actually talk to my team about this all the time, about programming and, things that we do to, are you going to let the news program you? Are you going to let things happening around you program you, or are you going to? And so you mentioned your team, and you mentioned those people are you've had key people in areas in your team that have helped you out with it for accountability and belief and so forth. How do you program yourself on your own? What sort of things are you doing there internally, just for Aaron?
Yeah, I am constantly looking at people that I admire in positions that I respect and seeing how they carry themselves. And something that's constant among all of them, the same theme that they carry, is that no matter what, they always believe in themselves and they don't allow other people to dictate their actions. And so if I do something, or if I'm taking a risk, or if I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, I ask myself constantly, like, is this something that you feel confident in doing? And if the answer is yes, then I do it. And I don't worry if someone else is worried and say, oh, I don't know if you could do that, or, oh, it's risky. And, what if this happens in this bad case scenario? I focus on what can go right. And I remember when I first started training in my group in Florida, one of the older athletes, he would talk to me, and I used to say, like, oh man, I'm looking at my contract and there's all these reduction clauses. Like, if I don't achieve this time, or if I don't make this team, or if I hit this standard, I could lose a part of my contract. And that used to always get at me. Like, I would be thinking about that constantly when I was on the line. And he would look at me and be like, well, there's also stuff that can augment your contract, right? Like, you can go up too, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, why don't you focus on that? It's a more of a positive mind space to be in, is focus on what can go right and how you can elevate versus what can go wrong. Because what you think kind of manifests. And if you're just focused on what can go wrong, that's usually what ends up happening. And so if you think about what can go right in the upside, then you're more likely to achieve that, because you're bringing that energy out. And so I'm constantly reaffirming myself of things that I'm doing in my life, and whether it's business or on the track or with my family and the way I'm raising them. Um, I just reassure myself that I'm on the right path, and the things that I'm doing, the choices that I'm making, are things that I truly believe in, and that I've researched and felt confident about, and put in the time to understand. And I just follow that. I follow my own internal compass, and I don't let people deter me just based on their own biases and fears that they have based on their experiences.
It's funny. It's so true what you're saying, because what you believe and what you think is manifest. And even on the golf course, I find every time I'm looking at the water, guess where my ball goes? It's like I get out there the tee. I'm like, man, that's a big pond over there. That plays really nice for my slice, and then it does it. Yeah, it goes right in the middle of it, right? So, well, what we direct our attention is so key. I've always wondered this about athletes, because some say they don't, but do you read articles of about what's going on? Do you really follow the news, other than like world events and stuff? But do you really follow stuff in your field where they may be talking about performance, or they may be talking about do you follow that stuff at all?
Seldomly. I mean, I have a lot going on outside of just tracks, so like I consume myself with a lot of other things that go on, and I'm a little unique in that I'm not just an athlete. We've discussed, is I have small businesses and stuff like that, and I have a family, and so my mind is all over the place in terms of like different things that I have to juggle. But I think that's to my benefit, because when I first started running, that was what I would consume, is nonstop like track stuff, and like people in my field, and constantly just worrying about like, oh, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? And I think there's such thing as mental fatigue. Like, obviously we know about physical fatigue, where if you just train too hard, you can burn out. But if you're just constantly thinking about one thing and obsessing over it, then you don't have that balance, and you can get mental fatigue as well. And especially when you're in a negative space where you're worrying about like what can go wrong. It helps if you're that person that just, sometimes you have that voice in your mind that's just constantly saying like, oh, we need to do more, we're not good enough. It can calm it down when you give it something else to think about, right? So just trying to have an idle mind, especially when you're a chronic thinker like I am, it doesn't work. Like, you can't trick yourself if you should say, don't think about something. Like, saying don't think about it is going to make you think about it more. But if you actually say, like, instead of thinking about this, let's think about that, and you have other things going on, you have that balance in your life, it helps you to calm yourself and be in a more positive space. And overall, it yields better results.
It's so like how we guard our mind. Like, our mind's a weapon, but you can actually direct it.
Yeah.
Too, right. It's so, and that was, it's funny. I went through 17 years of corporate, and I didn't know that fact. And it wasn't until I came into, business, where I started to realize and learn these things, and going, man, like, I was really complacent over there. I kind of didn't grow like I think I could have. And my perspective on life completely changed. My perspective on things that come at me or happen, and even to the point where things that happen kind of sometimes negatively, my mind quickly goes to, things happen for me, not to me, right? What is the positive out of this,
Yeah.
right? So, it's a different way to do to have a perspective like that after the fact when something happens, and to be able to, like you say, much more rewarding experience to move forward from. Yeah. So here this is probably going to hurt a little, but I always, I've been following you for, for years now, and my wife and I have been enjoying that journey and watching all your successes and your growth. So one thing that always gets me about you're a sprinter and what you're doing, because I know there's so much time put in when nobody's watching. And I think, even in business, I think a lot of people, they don't necessarily put the reps in when nobody's watching. Everybody wants to be you. We'd all love to be you on the podium or crossing that finish line as a champion. But do they? Because they don't know what you do, all the work that did that.
Yeah.
So what I meant by hurt a little, because it broke my heart when you were doing your individual event in Paris, and and then you were disqualified, right? So what was going through your head at that point? Because you've done all this work, and I know the Olympics is the big stage. I know you had the World Championships and everything else there, but what is going through your mind when you put all that work in, all that concerted effort that you've done? The days where you didn't feel like it, you did anyway. What was going through your head at that point when that happens?
Chaos. Yeah. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like, moments like that are definitely hard to deal with and hard to stomach, because, like you said, it's not even just all the stuff I did last year in 2024 to prepare for the Olympics. It's a journey, right? So, like, even going back to my first Olympics in 2012, like, all of that experience and all the things that I went through, all the training I've done, it's a cohesive journey leading up until 2024 and to present day. And it's just a learning experience, like you said, things didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And it was completely up to my control. And that momentary lapse, I lost focus, and then it's all she wrote. And, like, it can happen in a quick instant like that, where you put in all that time and effort to train for a moment, and then you miss it. You miss the opportunity. And the only thing you can really do is to allow yourself to feel all the emotions, go through it, because pretending that it's not there is only going to leave it there even longer. So you go through it, you feel it, you have your down moment, and then you get back and look for the next opportunity, because life doesn't stop. Like, after you false start, it might feel like life is over, but it's really not. Like, the competition keeps going. Everyone, like, the world keeps spinning, everything keeps revolving, and the longer you, like, dwell on it, the more you're missing out. And literally within the same championships, obviously I had the 200 as well, and that didn't go my way either. But then we have the relay, and if I had just been like, oh man, I'm done with this, like, my individuals didn't go the way I wanted it to, I'm out of here, like, I'm leaving Paris, then I'd miss out on Olympic gold. And, your next moment where you seize the moment could be right in front of you if you just look for it. But a lot of times we focus on the negative and stay in that moment, and we miss what's right in front of us, which is the next opportunity. So you don't want to just immediately be like, oh, I'm good, it didn't affect me, and ignore those emotions, because that would be disingenuous. And, eventually it's going to surface. But at the same time, once you allow yourself to feel it, move forward. Get over it, and understand that you're not the only one this is happening to. So in that moment, I felt like, oh man, why me? Like, I got sick a week before the championships, and, like, my preparation wasn't what it should have been, or what I felt like it should have been. Like, I didn't feel confident going into the blocks. Like, I was like, oh man, am I ready? And I was doubting myself, and it felt like, why is this happening to me? But then if you zoom out and realize there are so many other people that were being affected by things, that it's not just you going through. That's just life. Like, it's just not going to be perfect, and everyone's dealing with something. You just might not be mindful of it. So with that in mind, I was like, this is my challenge, and that one got the best of me. I missed out on that opportunity, but there's still more literally in this championships that I could take advantage of, and it in the best possible way possible. So now, like, when people talk about Paris, you know, they might add that as a footnote, like, oh yeah, false started, or oh, the 200 didn't go his way. But mostly everyone just talks about the Olympic gold. And so now it went from being one of the worst Olympics, or probably the worst Olympics for me, to, the most iconic one and the one that people know me for. And that's only because I was able to get back on my feet and be resilient and rely on the people around me that help me get back on my feet and remind me of the next opportunity. So yeah.
And that's what I've really, from afar, really admired about you, because I know that you've had challenges through that. I know that you've done that stuff, and I love the story of somebody getting knocked down and then getting back up, right? And like you said, it was right there, like a week later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there you are, and
Mm-hmm.
the most iconic moment for you, and I'll say for me too. I loved it. So I got like that picture of that moment. I said that to your dad, but that moment of you grabbing Andre when he crossed the line, and you guys you're like, that to me was the image of the Olympics. And I think for probably most Canadians, I think it really was. It was just a great shot. So coming into that, while we're on that topic, so you guys come in, you do bronze in Rio as a team. You go into Tokyo and you got silver as a team, and you were, I don't know, like it seemed like people were kind of counting you guys out coming to Paris. I don't know what you guys were thinking. Like, what were you guys thinking coming in to Paris with that type of, with what had happened as a team? You guys were a team to be considered, but it kind of felt like you weren't really, and people weren't watching you. What was your mindset as a team coming in?
I mean, we're used to that role, and we won the World Championships in 2022 on U.S. soil. So, that one was really sweet to win. But psychologically, that gave us the confidence that we can do this. Like literally seeing yourself do something that you have always known you can do, but you get that reassurance from actually doing it, like crossing that line first and getting those gold medals and being able to celebrate. That really cements it. And we held on to that feeling and that sentiment after the semifinals in the relay, because we needed something to hang on to. You know, I was dealing with what I dealt with, emotionally, psychologically, and all that stuff. Like the individuals just didn't go my way, as we discussed. And Andre, the same thing, because we were in a room. It was me and Brendan and Andre all in the same area. So we talked to each other like after each event. And Andre had his hamstring thing he was dealing with, and his coach, there's some turmoil with that. And, Brendan didn't make the finals either. And we're all kind of just a little like disappointed with the individuals. But once we ran the first round, it was like, okay, something has to change. Like if we do that again, we're going to get smoked. We're the last team to make it. Unfortunately, we were in the second heat, because if we were in the first one, we wouldn't have been a fastest qualifier and we wouldn't have even made it. And that would have been all she wrote for the Olympics. And, I probably would still be down in the dumps if that was the case. But fortunately for us, we made the finals. And then I was like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's look at where we can get faster, because obviously the time we ran was not going to cut it. We still believe we can win gold. Even though everyone was not at their best form, we thought if we just come together for one more race where we just all unite and do our jobs, like maximize out what we have to do, we can be competitive. And we're in lane 9, so nobody's going to see us coming. And we have nobody on our outside, so we're just running and focusing on ourselves. And I think that was key for us, because we didn't have to worry about anybody else in the world that was in that race. Like me running, I didn't know if I was first or last when I handed it off. I just knew I did my job. I ran through the zone, gave it to Jerome, and let him handle it. And when I saw Andre coming down, I'm like, wait, we can still win this. Like that's when it became real for me. Like, oh my God. And then I started celebrating, and that like raw emotion just came out, because I'm like, I can't believe we did it. Like we knew we could do it, but we were the last team to make it. But we actually won the Olympics. And the whole journey kind of just came full circle, because like you said, we started with bronze in Rio, went up to silver in Tokyo, and we all said like, okay, the next thing we need is the gold. That's the only way to go is up, is to win this thing. And that was our mentality going in. But we started to doubt ourselves when, our individuals went the way it did. And after the first round, we're like, okay, we just ran super slow. Like, can we still do this? But when we saw the numbers on when we reviewed the tape and watched it with our coaches, we're like, okay, mathematically it's there. Trust the math. Just don't believe any other noise. Don't believe what they're saying. Obviously, nobody's going to pick us to win, but we know we can get it done if we actually go out there and focus on ourselves because we've done it before. And it was the same script. It was the same playbook as 2022 when we won Worlds. We came in, we weren't the last team to make it in, but we weren't the favorites. You know, we didn't run superly fast in the first round, but we did the same thing. We went back to the drawing board, reviewed the tape. How can we get faster? Where can we improve? And also, it was that emotional speech. Like I gave one in Eugene where I like we were watching the tape. I'm like, this isn't good enough. Like, I threw out some expletives and got everyone going. Like, we got to do this. Like, and everyone responded. And then right when we're about to go in for the finals in Paris, Glenroy gave his speech, and we're about to go in. I'm like, no, we need a little more fire. And so I said something again, and I can't repeat exactly what I said because I don't want to, I want to keep it clean, but
It was show.
it was to the effect of, we've dealt with a lot of stuff, but the best deodorant to cover up doo-doo is an Olympic gold. I use different words, but like basically saying like the stink of the championships can all be wiped away with Olympic gold. And that's exactly what happened, So we went out there, we snatched victory, and, that was all she wrote. Like, now that moment's etched in history, but it's so interesting. Like, we have the medals, but when I look at the medal, I don't just see the gold. I see the journey. I see all the losses. I see all the hard work. I see the training and all the hours put in to like get to that moment where we're standing on top of the podium, and it's, a decade-long journey.
So tell me that is so awesome. I love that. So you're there. You said that, like, a rush of emotion, because really, I mean, it was like 20 years before a Canadian really was on the podium in sprinting since the 90s, right? So, and everything was like the golden era was, Donovan and Bernie and Glenroy and Robert, right? What was it like for you guys to feel like, hey, we've done this now? Like we're like, we just did this. Like you kind of bridged a gap of a lot of time, and then not to mention all the effort and everything that's come through for you to do that. Like, can you talk about that pouring of emotion that just came out, that you just like, is it like a montage going through your head of all the different moments and little times?
Initially, no, it was more so just like, how can I put it? It's like experiencing like one of the worst things that you've ever experienced, and then immediately experiencing like the best. It's like just such a shift of the pendulum. Is like, wow. like I don't know. It was hard to bottle in and keep inside because we felt such extreme disappointment, especially me. And then it was like literally the best thing that could have happened. And having that swing was just so instinctive. It was like a primal reaction. And like I remember in Eugene when we won, I broke my glasses because I took them off and I was celebrating. I was just like, yeah, and I was clenching them. So I made sure not to break my glasses this time. But like, it's like an out of body experience. Like, you just want to like, yeah, and just jump around and scream, and like you're just overjoyed. And some people like Andre was just kind of speechless and just like, I can't believe it. Like, this time of thing. And me, I was just like, like every time I saw a teammate, I was just like, yes, like celebrating. And it's just like, it all hits you in the moments after, like when things start to calm down. And then I realized, like, when we're doing our interviews and stuff, like, wow, like we just won the Olympics. And it really hit me when I did my victory lap and I saw my wife and my kids in the stands. Like, I went from like celebrating and being like all cool and like jumping around and yeah. And then as soon as I saw my wife, like I just hugged her and I started crying. It was just like, just tears of joy. It was like, I just couldn't control it. And, I just kept saying to her, like, I can't believe it. We did it. Like, we actually did it, because she was with me through all the struggles and through all the like low moments and trying to keep me positive and help me get back out to it. And it was nice that I got to celebrate with her in the stands, because it's like, thank you for being there with me. Like I don't think I could have had the strength to do this without you. And that outpour just came. And as we give our interviews and talk to like Donovan and the old guys, and we saw Bruni in the victory lap too. So it's like seeing the old guys from '96, and then obviously Glenn Roy's our coach. So like being able to say like, yeah, you guys officially handed the baton to the next Canadian Olympic champions. It feels cool. And to submit that moment, and now it's like, okay, who's going to be the next team to win Olympic gold for Canada? And how long will it be until that moment where we pass the baton to the next generation comes along?
That's so cool. That now, how much of an impact? I mean, obviously Glenroy being the coach, but the other guys like Donovan, and because I know Donovan's obviously around the sport, and Bruni. What sort of impact have they had on all of you? And I mean, you were pretty young when that happened, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was even like, I know definitely you would have obviously watched it multiple times, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what sort of impact have they had? Are they around? Are they feeding you guys? Like, what's that like?
Well, obviously Glenn Roy's in our corner for sure, and he's always constantly reminding us like things that they did together as a team and how they came together to win and what it took and what it meant to the country when they did pull it off. And he's always saying, I want that for you guys. So that's always something that we chased. And then Donovan, he'll be on the commentary. So he'll always be rooting for us and give us words of encouragement and, pulling for us and stuff like that. And then Bruni was the chef de mission in Paris. And he's always been involved as well. So it's been nice to have them kind of cheering for us and hoping that we can experience the same thing that they were able to experience, and to be able to pull it off. Like now we feel like we have a place alongside them in Canadian history. So that's a cool feeling. And yeah, it's just something that we've been chasing for a long time, and to finally pull it off and have it happen, it feels good to have that monkey off our back, so to speak.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then where do you see, like you were talking about the next generation, what place do you see yourself having in that, or what do you envision right now being able to do for them?
Will just serve as a reminder that a Canadian team can be on top of the podium, and don't sell yourself short because you represent the Maple Leaf. And I feel like that's an important thing, because there was a whole period between the '96 team and like those guys in the '90s and us now, where I felt like the Canadian sprints scene didn't have the confidence that they could get it done. And it was just like, we're happy to be here. We're happy to be in the race, in the mix, but like, we're not actually thinking we can win or we can go get on the podium. It's just like, we're an also ran. And I never liked that mentality. Like when I was younger and like, first getting into track and like learning more about it, because I grew up, I saw Donovan Bailey, like that iconic race in '96. And then I saw the relay team, but I never really knew like, okay, so what happened since then? Like, who's the next person? And there's that void. And I was like, well, I don't want that to be the case. Like, I want to bring Canada back on the map. And when I first got that medal in Italy in 2009 and the World Youth Championships, people asked me like, wow, like Canada is actually as a sprinter, like how does it feel? And that was always my mantra, is like, well, we've won before, we've won in the past. It's not like Canada is not a sprint nation. Like we can get it done. And I always said like, I want to be part of the era that brings Canadian sprints back on the map and put Canada on the map. And that's always been something that I've been passionate about. And I want to kind of convey that message and pass it along to the next generation. Like we've had success. We've been able to be competitive. But don't let that go. Like, don't let it go another 20, 30 years until we see a Canadian star. Like, let's keep it going. We have so much talent in Canada. We can be competitive. And it helps when we see like, the other day when Canada wins the Four Nations game, it's like, yes, look, Canada, number one, we can be competitive. Don't acquiesce to the US. Like, don't think like, oh, we can't be competitive with these guys. They're too much. Like, no, like put in the work, have the mentality, go out there and be competitive and try to win. And if you don't, well, go back to the drawing board and improve until you do. You just keep working. Don't be satisfied with just being in the race and being in the mix. Keep going and challenge yourself to be better and be competitive, and don't give anything to anybody just because they're from another nation.
I love that. I gotta ask you a little bit controversial, but what's the vibe like with the U.S. team? Are you, like is the circuit like is it a bit of a brotherhood
Yeah.
or is the rivalry is it pretty intense? Like what's that like?
So this one felt very different in the past because I had four of the six guys that are in the relay pool for the US guys train with me in the States. And then my coach actually, he used to run. So he was the anchor in 96 for the Team USA. So he got the silver behind Canada. And so there was times where at practice, because we have so many guys that were in the pool, both on the guys and women's side, on my team, my training group, there was a practice where they actually were working on baton passes, and one of the guys had to go to California to train with another guy, and so I had to fill in as the
Really?
fourth guy. And I'm like, wait, this feels weird. Like I'm Canadian. I'm literally competing against you guys, but it was just like a touch pass. Like it was nothing serious. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll do it. But it felt weird. Like I'm helping out like Team USA, who's our chief rival. Um, but yeah, going into the call room, like obviously we're in the same space, and so we're talking to each other. So I'm talking to my teammates, like we're talking about the race coming up, and talking about random things as well. And then when we go out there, we obviously wish each other success, but we want to beat each other. So it is a brotherhood, but at the same time, it's a rivalry. And even to this day, like when we're talking about like this upcoming season, there's the World Relay Championships again in May in China, and my coach was talking because he's involved with the relay program. So he's talking to my teammates like in our meeting at the end of practice, and he's saying information about Team USA, and I'm the lone Canadian guy here. Like I kind of feel like a spy. Like I'm hearing stuff about like their plans and like their training camps and stuff. And they're like they got a new coach this year. They're like, yeah, we want to change things up and take it more seriously. So what happened in Paris doesn't happen again. And I'm just like, well, you know, hopefully it does
Yeah,
happen
like
again.
just a fly on the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, don't mind me. And then I'm telling coach like, oh, like I know Team Canada's planning to go to Florida Relays. We're gonna get the guys together and run like a practice relay together. And then one of the other my teammates was like, oh, you guys are going to Florida Relays? Yeah, let's go there too, so we can beat them there. And they always want to get their revenge. So it's fun though. It makes it more competitive, and people care about it. Like it's something when people are passionate about something, it makes it more fun. And as long as we take it in spirit and it's not like personal or anything, like it's always fun. That makes it more exciting for sure.
Yeah, yeah, adds a little fuel to it. I like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think everybody likes that little bit of competition, that little bit of edge going back and forth,
Hmm.
and banter.
Yeah.
It ups the stakes a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, especially
yeah,
with Canada, US too, because we're neighbors, and we're pretty
yeah,
similar, but we have our differences, and it's just fun to poke fun at each other.
yeah. The first video I saw come out after on Instagram, I think it was Noah's
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Who.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you know now.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep, yep. And it's funny that he
yeah,
said
that
that
was
too, because we beat them in 2022, and he was on the team, so he
yeah,
knows we're formidable in the relay, but for
yeah,
whatever reason, he
yeah.
wanted to disrespect us, and
Yeah, yeah.
kind of
Well,
had to eat his words.
the owl got tamed there. So,
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, listening to you over the years, and just hearing what you were saying about the speech you gave to the team beforehand, take me through what's Aaron. When you think about leadership
Uh-huh.
and stepping up and being an example and a role model and a leader, even amongst your team there,
Hmm.
it really feels. And I'll tell you from outside, and you can tell me differently, but it felt just on camera watching it felt like you were that guy. Um, how has that evolved, Aaron, from coming in? Even I know 2012, but let's say Rio, when you were a little bit, you weren't the rookie coming to the Olympics, and
Yeah.
what has that journey been like, or how do you feel that's evolved as a role model, as a leader in
Um, I think it's definitely evolved because I look at it as like a responsibility, and it's something that I feel like is necessary in order to have success and have cohesiveness amongst the team. Is you have to have a unifying voice, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a singular voice. Like it can be a collective, and sometimes a lot of times it's me that people look to, but sometimes it's Brendan who might chime in and say something. Every now and then Andre might say something, but he's a little bit more quiet and reserved. Um, but I feel like those who have the knowledge, who have the experience, and have something positive to say that can help should. And it's more of a responsibility thing versus something that is meant to like boost your ego and be like, I'm the leader. You guys have to follow me. It's more like I have experience. I've been there before. This is how we can get it done. And it's lending that voice of reassurance in times of stress and uncertainty. And there's no higher stress and uncertain moment than going into an Olympic final. And that's why I felt the need to say something like, we can actually get this done. Like reaffirm to everybody who might be having doubts and not fully believe and buy in yet. If you're thinking that, here's some words of encouragement and some wisdom to reaffirm, like, yes, take that leap, get over the fence. We can do this, buy in. Let's all be on the same page. And I feel like that's necessary to have in moments where you might have people doubting. And like we all have imposter syndrome. We all have moments where we don't quite know, or the competition's stiff. And it's like, based on our past experience, maybe you had a down moment and you're like thinking about that. But when you have those words to reaffirm, then we can all feel more confident going into those challenges.
Yeah, it's so good to be able to step on that and always lean back into those. And you mentioned earlier about grabbing those feelings and hanging on to that feeling and knowing like, hey, I've done the work, I've done the process, I worked as hard as those other. Like we deserve it. We just have to go execute.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
very 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 important.
Mm-hmm.
I think I see that a lot in our team too, and even me. If I think of like times where I don't know, someday I just wake up and I feel doubt. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like that nothing's happened a week before to really make me feel that way, or but I don't know why, but you just wake up, you're like, you start thinking and doubting. And for you, did you ever, I know it's probably happened, but in your career when you started, did you ever want to quit or think about quitting?
There's been moments where I felt like giving up in like a meet, or like feeling like, oh, it's just not my day, like I don't have it. But I never actually felt like walking away from this sport until Paris. And it was after the two, and I've never really like I've been running for a long time. I made my first Olympic team when I was 20. And so like I've been on senior teams every single year straight consecutively. And, I have a lot of miles on my body, but it never really occurred to me. It's always just like, okay, what's the next thing? And I just keep going and going and going. And it wasn't until Paris where I was like, maybe this could be near the end for me. I don't know. Like you start to feel a little bit more mortal and like start to contemplate the end and like, oh, well, what am I going to do after this? And I never felt like that before, but it's just in that low moment where things just didn't go how I had been hoping and training for. And I started to doubt a little bit. But then as soon as we won, all that went away. And I was like, no, we got to repeat this thing in 2028. So it's like another 4 years, we got to do it. And that's my mentality now, is it's like, we like the journey is done in terms of going from bronze, silver to gold, and getting that gold is just like, okay, I have that moment in my career now. Now it's just about like, what else can I achieve while I'm still here, and while I still feel good and still have this moment where I'm fortunate enough to be a professional sprinter. What else can I achieve? And it's about having fun and creating more moments and just in soaking up the experience. And that's more of a positive space to be in versus like the pressure of, oh, I got to take advantage while I'm here, because once I'm done, it's over. And I was living in that space for a while. And I feel like that creates more burnout, and you're less likely to want to continue when you're feeling pressure versus excitement and gratitude. And so now that I have that mindset going forward, I feel like I can last longer just psychologically. And I'll take it year by year and see where I go and how I feel and reevaluate, because obviously I have other things that I'm interested in my life and doing. But while I'm here, I'm fortunate and blessed and honored to be able to do what I'm doing, and I'm just going to ride it out as long as I can.
I think that's such a huge point, man, because I think a lot of people, and I struggled with this for a long time too, is I'll be happy when that happens.
Exactly.
I'll be happy when this goes, and I'm just gonna keep my head down and not enjoy anything, and then I can really enjoy it. And then I think a lot of people realize, and I'm sure you realize too, I mean, that feeling in the moment, like all that poured out when you won the gold, and you were the the champions of the Olympics, and but you probably realize after yeah, there's more, like in the sense of not like wealth and things like that, but it's just there's more into life. And I think for me, it was a big one as well to realize that, hey, you can enjoy the journey, and if you keep taking the steps, you're going to hit that milestone. It's going to happen inevitably if you don't quit. And yeah, a big one for me was that, because I was always a guy in different phases, and I see a lot of that with people that I'm in business with as well, and saying, hey, like, enjoy the journey, like, enjoy it, because like I promise you, when you get to that finish line and cross that finish line, it's going to feel really good, but you think it's gonna last for the rest of your life, but really you're gonna realize it will fleet. It'll be fleeting, right? So you need to have something else to hang on to. So I love that you said that. So you've talked about your family. You started this whole thing with as a young single guy, and then now or single as in not married and family, but you now that's evolved, and your why, and then they were a big part of you being able to keep support you to keep doing what you did and to get you to that point. How's that changed? Like, walk me through, because you're running businesses now. You're doing you're a professional sprinter. You're a pro athlete. You're running businesses. You got a family. Walk me through the day. Walk me through a day of Aaron. Like, what does a day of Aaron look like?
Well, it's a lot of changing hats. So sometimes simultaneously I'm wearing multiple hats. So like in the mornings, my son goes to daycare 3 times a week, and so I drop him off before going to practice, and sometimes that's getting him ready a little bit in the morning, like whether it's brushing his teeth or helping my wife with breakfast and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm taking care of myself, so I'm preparing to be an athlete. So I'm taking my supplements in the morning. I'm getting my breakfast, making sure that I'm ready and getting my clothes together and all that stuff. And after I drop them off, then, it's full athlete mode. I get to practice, so, go through a warm up and interact with my teammates and stuff like that. Get through the workout. And then most of the time during the week, we lift after. So drive across the city, to the gym, work out there. And then usually, I have an appointment afterwards, like, whether it's seeing the chiropractor or the massage therapist or, my personal trainer. So it's managing that, making sure I get some food in between then. And then usually after that, I'll pick up my son on the way home. Sometimes my wife might want to eat out, so I might pick something up for dinner. And then I'm back. It's like back to the family guy, doing the nighttime routine. So play with the kids for a little bit, bath time. Usually have a little dance party, whatever. So we're playing music and the kids are dancing, right before bed, or playing with toys or whatever it is that they're doing that night. And then get them ready for bed. And then after that, that's when husband time. So we have that little block when the kids go to bed, and then it's me and my wife, where we usually watch a show together, or talk, or sometimes we play a game together. And then after she goes to bed, I have like my business time. So that's usually when I like get to my emails or any outstanding things I have to do for one of my businesses. I get to that. I'm also a content creator, so like I'm pretty um, active on my social media. So I'm planning that out. I'm making posts and stuff like that, or planning out what I'm going to shoot next. And, it's just constantly just switching hats and going back and forth between being a sprinter and family guy, business guy. And sometimes, I have to leave a little room for me, where it's just me time and doing stuff that's a little less stressful and just more purely fun, not productive. And that's hard for me sometimes, because it's like, oh man, I could get this done. I could get this done. I should be using this time more productively. But at the same time, you need those hours where you're just taking care of yourself and having self-care, doing things that are fun and less stressful. That's how you keep yourself going the distance, because it's a marathon, not a sprint, even though I'm a sprinter. I like to sprint. um, yeah, it's just, I enjoy what I do. And as long as I do that, I keep at it. And, sometimes it might be a little bit much and I have to take a little bit of a break, just so I don't burn out. But, I'm a guy that likes to push the limit. It's just how I've been my whole life. I like to see how far I can take it. And what I can achieve, and I like building things and working on stuff and seeing things grow. So I start different projects and stuff like that and see where I can take it. And I like putting the work in over time, reaping the rewards and delayed gratification, stuff like that. So I put a lot of irons in the fire and see what it leads to down the road.
So it's a big thing that you kind of talked about, because I think a lot of people think to themselves, oh, I've got kids, I've got a family, I have a business, I'm doing this. I find a lot of people, they sometimes use things for an excuse versus, realizing that you can, compartmentalize and have progress in many different areas. And like you say, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and just delay that gratification. So you're showing that you've been doing that a really good way. What's the next phase for you after 2028? What's the next that you can see right now? What does that look like?
Still figuring that out. There's a lot of things that call to me, and over the years I've been thinking about what I wanted to do, because as a sprinter, your career could end at any point. So I always had to be prepared as like, okay, if this was the last season, what would I be doing? And the answer changes, constantly. And obviously I've been growing my businesses and stuff like that so that I have something to I could dive into, and the more time I have to spend towards that, the faster I can grow it. So at least there's an avenue where if I couldn't run tomorrow, then I can go into that and have something to start from. I'm not starting from scratch. But there's different things that I've been passionate about. There's been ideas of being like a public speaker and, doing that circuit and going around the world or going across Canada and talking to different people. Like I love doing that and talking about my story, my experiences, and relating it to their fields and stuff like that, and seeing how I can motivate and inspire other people to, be their best selves and stuff like that. So that could be an avenue that I pursue. A lot of people have, floated the idea of like broadcasting and stuff like that for me. And, if that's something that, I might moonlight here and there, maybe do an Olympics or something like that, that'd be really cool to do. And then maybe I fall in love with it and that's something I pursue. There's an idea of maybe working for Nike. I've been a Nike athlete my whole career, so that might be a natural next step for me to go into when I'm done running. It's really I don't live in myself, and whatever I do end up doing, I lived an unconventional life thus far, where I've done multiple things. And if I had told somebody when I was 8 years old, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a professional sprinter, they'd be like, what? Like, is that even a job? Like, can you do that? But I'm literally doing it. So it's like, I don't need to have like, I'm going to be this and that's that. Like, I've always been someone that's like, I do what I am passionate about and I make it work and I go with the flow. And so my answer is always going to be evolving until I get to 2028, until it's finally like, okay, now it's here. Like, what are you going to do? But yeah, for now, that's my kind of non-answer, but answer that, I'm going to do whatever calls to me.
That's awesome. No, I resonate with that. And I think I just got two more for you, but just a follow up to that one. So we have a lot of people who are, at different stages of life. You have a lot of people who either could be in their 40s, could be even in their 50s. And unfortunately, a lot of people in their late 20s and 30s that think, oh, I'm on this path now, and I can't reinvent myself, or I can't do something different. And hearing what you've said here, what would you say to those people?
I mean, like I said, life is a marathon, and I would never put myself in a position where I feel like this is it. I've peaked. I'm constantly chasing the next challenge and reinventing myself and self-assessing and seeing like what am I passionate about? What do I want to do with myself? And that's not limited by age. That's limited by how you think and how you apply yourself, right? And whether, when I'm 6 years old, I'm not going to be like, I'm just going to, sit around and do nothing. Like, I'm going to find whatever I'm passionate about then and pursue that challenge. And there's people across the world that are doing the same thing. And so you don't ever think like you're too old for something, to try something new and to be this person that you always wanted to be. Like, life is what you make it. And so never live in that limiting space, because that's just selling yourself short, and you only get one crack at this thing. And why not make it as eventful and fun and, joy filled as you can? you know, looking at something like age is such a archaic way of looking at things. Like maybe back in the day, you know, that might have been the case where someone a certain age can't do something, but this is 2025. Like you see examples across the world of people doing amazing things at all type of ages, whether you're a kid, like a 10-year-old YouTube streamer who's, making millions just reviewing Lego presents and stuff like that, versus like an 80-year-old who is like climbing mountains and, uh, talking about that. And like, it's, I don't know. I would never live in that space. It's just not a place that I feel like, I would want to expose myself to.
So limiting, right? It really takes yourself down. I remember, so like I shifted my career, in my late 30s, and I was doing really well in corporate, and everybody's like, "Are you crazy?" Even my family, my parents, my dad said to me, and they've been extremely supportive in anything I did, and even in this. But he did say to me, he's like, "Are you a sucker for punishment? Like, just go enjoy the fruits of your labor. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
completely different industry." But I'll tell you, it was the best. Like, like I shared earlier, my perspective changed. I grew so much mentally, and just
Yeah.
it's the best decision I ever made. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's interesting to where most people, like, and even my peers around me were going, "What are you doing, man? Like,
Yeah.
just ride this out now." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't. It makes me shudder to think if I did that.
Right.
Like, I literally got goosebumps right now thinking, like, if I actually did that, I can't even imagine it. But so yeah, my last one for you, man. You've you've done all this stuff. You're into business. You've done so much in the athletic world and mindset. How do you think that's helped you in your businesses? How do you think what your experiences have been, or vice versa, maybe getting into some of the businesses that have maybe helped you in your athletic career? How do you think that has parlayed for you?
It's been very helpful because, like I said, there's a lot of parallels between the two, the business world and the sports world. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times where you're hot. There's going to be times where you're cold, and you have to be even keeled and be able to handle it and look at things analytically and put the emotions aside. And sometimes that's the best way you can do it is take the emotion out of it and look at it like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. How do I bridge the gap? And why am I not getting it done? Or who do I need to help me get there? And sometimes in business, there's been times where like I feel like I know enough and I could do it myself, and I would have been so much further along, or I would have been more successful and not have to go through a low period if I had just sought out help and or put the right person in place and gotten help from somebody who knows better. And it's the same thing with sports. If you think you know it all, you're going to go out there and meet challenges and find quickly that, life will humble you and let you know, like, you don't have all the answers. Sometimes you do need help, and it helps to work with other people, and you can get a lot further if you work with people. And I think there was a quote where it was like, if you want to go fast, do it alone. But if you want to go far, do it together. Something like that. And I think that's very apropos for both, business and sports, because it's not a journey that you just take alone and do it all yourself. Like, having a team around you is so key. Putting the right people in the right places makes you more efficient. It allows you to double down on what you do well and focus on that, versus trying to be a jack of all trades but master of none. You could double down and focus and lock in on what you're supposed to be getting done, and then have other people who are efficient at their space do their thing, and together you can get very far. So there's a lot of parallels. Like, I could go on for days about how there's a lot of crossover between the two. Just even mentality of, being resilient. And, sometimes I've made wrong decisions in business, and it's like, man, I shouldn't have did that. But instead of doubting myself and be like, oh, well, I'm going to give up on the business, and, I'm going to fold, and this just isn't for me. I don't believe myself anymore. I give up. I say, okay, I made a mistake. I made a wrong turn here, but I could still turn this around. How could I change this? And, putting my ego aside and having some humility with my approach, eventually I turn it around. And it's the same thing with sports, like having a bad race, false starting, getting disqualified, or just losing doesn't mean like I'm the worst athlete in the world. Now I need to give up and try something else. It just means, you're experiencing a low moment. It's time to self-analyze and get back out there and do it better the next time.
Yeah, and like you say, missing out on that great opportunity if you did it, like how good is that? Yeah, awesome stuff, man. I think a lot of people do miss that, and that resilience and being able to know that the sun's going to shine the next day and you're going to be something great's coming around the corner is so huge. Yeah, this has been awesome, man. I could, and time went so fast. I could have. I know we went actually over. I feel like I could go another hour with you. It's been a lot of fun. Before we go though, where can they find you? Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I'm on YouTube, Aaron Kingsley Brown. I'm on Instagram, X, and TikTok at Kingsley SC. And I'm also on Facebook. I have a fan page there. And you can also go to my website, aaronkbrown.com.
Awesome. Follow this man. This guy's got a lot of wisdom. He's doing some awesome stuff. He's representing Canada like you'd want a Canadian representative to be. Great role model, huge inspiration, and just an all-around great guy. Really appreciate you being with us today, Aaron. Thanks for taking the time, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good luck with all the future kicks and butt in 2028.
Yeah, let's go.